My name is Teresa Francis, and my background is eclectic, but I would say primarily I'm a career counselor, an educator, and for the last 15 years have worked in PLAR, in Prior Learning Assessment and Recognition. And until about a week ago, I was actually the executive director of the Prior Learning Center in Halifax, and we've just closed. So now I'm on to my own goal setting, and when I was preparing for this session, I was thinking, wow, I should be doing a lot of these exercises myself as I take stock of my own life and figure out what I'm going to do next. So I'm really happy to be here today to do this session. Let me say right off the bat, I'm not an expert in level 1 and 2 learners, but I have done a fair bit of work over the years within adult learning programs and with instructors in adult learning programs. And I'm hoping that what we're going to do today is appropriate to your learners. I think you'll find it appropriate to yourself as well. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to send you the documents, was so that you can adapt them if you feel they're not quite appropriate for your learners. A lot of my work over the last 15 years, for sure, has been in PLAR, and particularly in portfolio development. Most of you familiar with portfolio development and portfolios. And one of the important components of the portfolio program is goal setting. So we've done a lot of goal setting exercises and modules and sessions with learners over a number of years. And I think one of the things that really struck me when I started doing this work was how intimidating and how scary it is actually for many people to set goals. I think for a lot of people, any of us, you know, if we've had negative experiences with having set goals and then not achieved them before, then maybe we move around. If you don't set a goal, then you're not going to fail at not achieving it. Also, I think for a lot of the individuals that we work with, they live day to day. And so looking ahead and being able to set goals for some time in the future is just something that they don't do. And I think finally, what I've seen with working with learners is that, and this was what really surprised me, was that learners see goal setting as a privilege, or some of us see goal setting as a privilege that we don't feel we have. That goal setting might be for other people who can set goals, but for some of us, we have to do what we have to do. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but that's kind of my sense of it. So I think when you're tackling goal setting, and this is my own experience, it's not something you can do in one shot. It's something that's done over a period of time in several sessions. You probably tackle it a few different times, and you might even tackle it in a few different ways. And I think one of the important things is that there's a lot of upfront work to be done before you even get to goal setting. So to prepare the learners that you're working with to be ready to set goals. And I think for me, a lot of that came with PLAR, with Prior Learning Assessment and Recognition, because a lot of the upfront work that we were doing and that I saw instructors doing, or in any of the, working with any of the adult groups that we worked with, that work that's done helping people kind of uncover what they know and can do, looking at personality traits, looking at interests, looking at skills, looking at knowledge, so really helping individuals look at what they bring to the table. To me, it's important that that work be done before you even get to, okay, let's set some goals. So that people are prepared for that, and that they've developed some confidence so that they can I think, have more insights into their own background and into what they bring. So initially, when I put this workshop together, I was going to start with an exercise like that. I had a great exercise. But then when I actually did the program, I thought, okay, we don't have all day for this workshop. We have an hour and a quarter. So I didn't do that piece. But the exercise that I was going to do was around pride stories. Are you familiar with that one? All right. I won't go into too much detail, but pride stories is an exercise where you look at your background and you pick an experience or an activity or an event that was a particularly positive one for you, and then you actually go through a process of looking at that activity or looking at that event with somebody else and taking it apart and seeing what the skills were, what the knowledge was, what you brought to it. What I'll try and do is try and send you something on that as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to pretend that all of that kind of upfront preparatory work has been done, and that now the group or the individuals, the clients that you're working with, are ready to actually go through a goal-setting exercise. And we're going to do a pretty fast one. I wouldn't advise that you do it this quickly, but I just want to introduce you or show you, I guess, just the pieces of what I would do if I were doing goal setting with the group. So, any questions so far? If you wouldn't mind, at your tables, and if some of you want to move so that you can work in pairs, that's fine, but if you want to move so that you've got larger groups at tables, if you would take about 5 or 10 minutes, we've probably got 10 minutes, to talk about the questions that are on that slide. So, what are goals? Where do they come from? Why do we set them? What happens when we achieve them? And what's the difference, if there is one, between goals and dreams? All right, sorry, I got a little sidetracked. So let's just debrief this very quickly. But this is the same kind of conversation that you could have with a group or with individuals. Just anybody throw it out. What are goals? What are goals, and what are goals, where do they come from, and why do we set them?
Steps to dreams.
Steps to dreams.
Things you want to accomplish.
Things you want to accomplish.
Something to work for.
Absolutely.
Sometimes they're a necessity to have a goal.
Yes.
Or you're talking family monitoring.
Absolutely.
Things to meet needs.
Things to meet needs. Yes.
Needs or wants.
Needs or wants. Absolutely. What else?
Concrete.
They're concrete. Yes.
It should be.
Yes, we try to make them concrete.
It should be attainable.
Attainable. Oh, now you guys are getting ahead of me. But yes, they should be attainable. So why do we set them?
Give our lives purpose.
Give our lives purpose.
We want to feel good about ourselves, feel success, feel that we accomplished something.
Absolutely.
Something that we accomplished. External reasons.
Yes. Can you give me an example?
There are benefits if you achieve your goals.
Yes.
There are always benefits.
Yes.
Accountability.
Accountability. What happens when you achieve them?
You feel proud.
You feel pride? What was that?
Set a new goal.
Set a new goal. That's right. You feel a sense of accomplishment.
Motivates you.
It motivates you.
Change thinking from I can't to I can.
Absolutely.
You check your lessons learned.
Yes, definitely. So you know what you would do again and what you would do differently next time. Anything else? Okay, and finally, what's the difference between goals and dreams? And this is always a good conversation to have as well.
You said dreams are more like if anything was possible, this is what you would do. And your goals are like the smaller steps that you can actually achieve to work towards it as close as you can come to your.
Absolutely. That's right.
Sometimes dreams aren't attainable due to certain restrictions.
That's right. Sometimes dreams are kind of, I think of dreams as being farther out there, whereas goals are more concrete, more specific, perhaps more practical, and I mean, you can actually set goals to help move you towards your dreams, right? But it's less abstract, and I think a goal is more planful than a dream.
We talked about control, like sometimes, not in every case, but say your dream is to win the lottery. You don't really have control over whether or not your ticket's going to be picked, but a goal is something that you pretty well have control over whether or not you can meet it.
That's right. And that's actually one of the, if you're running your goals through a filter of, is this really a good goal? That's one of the things that you look at. Is this my goal? Is it really something that I can achieve? And if it's not, then you might have to set that goal for somebody else. Or you go back and set a new goal.
I think dreams can be very private and secretive almost, and almost, some people won't allow themselves the dream kind of thing, so they'll push it away. I think that can come up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. And to go back to that word accountability, you're not really accountable for your dreams because they are that far out there. But when you turn it into a goal, then it brings it closer.
I think people's life experiences can just say that I'm not allowed to dream. I'm not one of those people that will ever be, get to a dream kind of thing, because that's the cards I've been dealt. And
Exactly.
Or that life is so chaotic and intense and everything else that I can't think beyond tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
today.
Or that it doesn't even occur to them.
Yes,
The dream.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
They don't even think of it as, it's not even on the radar.
that's right, because it's not within the realm of possibility. So again, in the interest of time, I mean, this is a conversation that we could continue, but I think this kind of a conversation helps to kind of open up and get thinking about goals and dreams. The next step in a process like this, for me, would be then to move to a goals exercise. So in this handout, from G2 to G8, there are a whole bunch of different goals exercises. Now, my personal favorite is the goals collage, and that's the one that's not an option for you today, because I didn't think I could bring enough supplies and we didn't have time. But what I'd like you to do is take a look at those exercises, G2 through to at least G7, and pick one for yourself. You can pick maybe you want to do the $1 million giveaway exercise, long lost friend, the last time I felt. Just look through them. See if there's one that strikes your fancy. I'm going to give you about 10 to 15 minutes to do this exercise. You don't have to pick the same one as the person next to you. You can all pick different ones. But just for fun, and thinking about yourself and your own experience and perhaps your own goal setting, work through one of these exercises to think about goals that you might be setting for yourself. So just before we debrief this one, how many of you are familiar with the goals collage? Do you know what I'm talking with? Have you done that exercise before? For some people, thinking and writing is a great way to get at this. But for others, you need a little bit more of that external stimulation and a little bit more of that help. So a collage exercise is very, very simple. It's very relaxed and very low key. All you need are old magazines, scissors, glue, and either cardstock or pieces of paper or whatever. And you can use newspapers if you don't have magazines. And what you would do is I would throw a pile of magazines and scissors and glue sticks on the table, and you could just have some fun and go through them and cut out pictures and cut out words, cut out phrases, whatever struck your fancy. And all of the directions are all in here in your handout. And create your own collage. And it's really meant to be, at that point your goals are still fairly abstract, so you haven't kind of come down to the concrete yet. But for some people, you may, especially for those who can't really think, I don't have any goals, or I don't know what my goals are, it at least gets the juices flowing, I guess you would say, and start thinking creatively about dreams and about things you might want to achieve or what appeals to you. So that really is my favorite exercise, but you need about 45 minutes just to do that piece of it alone. But it's a great exercise to do with all kinds of groups of people. So is everybody done? Are you finished this exercise? Are we okay to debrief it? All right, what I'd like you to do is work with a partner as long as you're comfortable, and just share with the partner what the exercise was that you did, and what you're comfortable sharing, I guess, about the goals exercise that you just went through. I'm hearing some really interesting discussions, and there are some tough questions about working with learners with goal setting that are coming up, and we'll ask some of those toward the end. I think it's important when you're going through these exercises to think about, at this point we're still pretty broad and pretty general with goal setting. You're generating ideas, and I think it's also important that you are the people who are working with people. So it would be important to read these exercises, and that's why I tried to collect a bunch of them so that you can evaluate. Is this one that I would use with my particular group of learners, or do I need to modify it? Do I need to change the wording? And you can do that with any of them. And I didn't invent them. I gathered them. So it's important for you to know what will work and what will interest the learners that you're working with. Once you've generated these ideas, and again, this might even be on a different day, but you can start moving from the abstract to the more concrete. And that's kind of where the rubber starts to hit the road for any of us. When we start looking at the goals that we've come up with and start saying, okay, is this really something that I can do? And when you start trying to break it down and make it into smaller pieces and seeing when would I achieve that by. And for many of us, that's going to help us sort out the goals for us that we really do want to achieve in the short term, in the medium term, and some of those which are longer term goals. So on G9, and actually just for fun, which exercise did you do? I heard a couple of 90th birthday. That was you guys.
$1 million.
$1 million, which didn't go very far.
All three of us chose 90th.
90th birthday. That's another one we have done a lot.
Long lost friend.
Long lost friend. How was that one?
Made me think.
Good. Good.
My life might be very boring.
That's not a bad thing, I always think.
So I looked at the $1 million one in the Superman.
Okay. Good. Thank you. So, what time is it? How are we doing? It's about 1:30. I don't want to belabor this. But on G9 is a goal planning workshop, or worksheet, sorry. So what I would like you to do, and we'll just take 5 minutes to do this next exercise, And it's probably the last exercise we're going to do. Just take one of the things that you've been thinking of, one of the goals that you've been thinking of, or look at a couple of different areas. Personal growth, employment, whatever. And see what you can fill in for short term, medium term, long term. You don't have to, we're not going to do the whole sheet. This is just for you to have a little bit of experience of it. Okay. Would anyone like to share an example? You don't have to, but just if anybody would like to. The gentleman in the back.
So I kind of started with the long-term bit. I would like to learn a new language.
Okay.
So as a short-term goal, I put down finding time every day to do that. Not even just to do a step towards learning, but just finding time to be able to put it in.
Okay.
For the medium term, maybe be able to read a newspaper in a language that I'm trying to learn.
Okay. And so your long term is to learn a new language. Okay. Somebody else. Just one more.
I have education goals, and like several other people here, I'm in the Orton-Gillingham training.
Yes.
So I'm at the very beginning of my path. I just started with a learner. So over the short term, I want to get as many lessons in as possible to improve my practice, get my hours towards certification. Medium term, 2 or 3 years, I'm hoping to have that certification in place so that I can work independently. And then over the long term, I want to practice with my organization and perhaps set up private practice at home. And then long term, with this goal, is to do it throughout my retirement. Both practice and private practice.
Excellent.
So if I ever get to retire.
Yes. That's the way I think too.
Sort of, freedom 85.
Many of us are on the same track. We could set some goals around that. So no matter what your goal is, and no matter how big it is or how small it is, or how what area of your life it's in, you can look at it in terms of those shorter chunks. But then you have to take it a step further.